Welcome back coders, welcome back to Coding Casually. So today what we'll be making is we'll be making an employee management system in which we'll be storing people's name, their Aadhaar card or SSN number, their gender, their skill set and their address. So basically through this our intention is that you get to understand how you can use tkinter to make these kind of GUI. Of course this is done on Python only and it's up to you how you have to make it. So I'll show you one example and we'll be using things like the input box, we'll be using things like text, we'll be using label, we'll be using a button as well, and then check boxes and option boxes. So this is a basic example of how an employee management system can be built using tkinter on Python. If you want to use it, if you want to use different widgets, that is completely fine, but through this you'll get to know how you can make things like this using the place system in tkinter, and you can enhance the application if you want to use, if you want to make another version out of it which carries more data, that is also fine. So first what we'll be doing is we'll be making the GUI and then we'll work on how we store that information. So in order to use tkinter, I'm sure that you have installed it. I have Anaconda installed my system, that and Python of course with it. So tkinter is a default module in Python, so you don't have to install it, it comes with it only. And I am working on Visual Studio Code. If you have a different IDE, that is also fine. So in order to start, what we can do is we can write import tkinter as tk, and then we can say that root will be tk.tk, right? And now we have to give root a title as well, and we'll give a title which is employee management system. And then what we can do is we can give a geometry as well, which means the size of a window that we want it to carry, and then we can give it 600 into 480. This is, I believe, is good enough. And then what we can do is we can create a variable called placement. I'll tell you why we need it, but for the timing we'll have it as 60. So now what we need to do is we need to define the name of the company for whom we are storing the information for. So we'll write name of company and then give it a label name. So we'll be doing more copy and paste in it once we get a hang of it, and so that we can make the GUI in a faster manner. And we'll write ABC company. Okay, and now it's up to you whether you want to use the grid system or the pack system, but I really like the place one. So what I'll do is I will write dot place and then write x equals to 200 and y equals to 5. So basically x is this, which is the horizontal one, and the y is the vertical one. So x 200 means that, you know, more towards the center of the screen or more towards the center of the window, and y means a little bit 5 knots down. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to make sure that the spelling of the same is correct, and then just because it's the name of the company, we want it to outshine from the different text as well. So we'll config and then state that we want font to be equals to Arial, and then I want the font size to be 20. Okay, so how this is done is we'll do this, and now we have to close the quotes, and I'm sure this is done. So the moment you are done with this, what you can do is you can make another label called employee name and then write tk label and then root and then text equals to employee name, and then I can copy paste it and do a simple thing that I'm doing right now is doing something which I can, as I said to you, that, you know, I'll do more and copy paste in this instead of doing things by hand all the time. And just because this will come in between and this part should come on the left hand side, what I'll do is I'll remove 0 from here. So 20 is something that I'm targeting, which is more left of the screen, and then y will be placement. You can copy it from here, placement plus 40. So what's gonna happen is, if I have to make changes to the labels which is going to come onto the left, and if I want to increase the margin from the above or towards the left or towards the right, I can use such variables to configure them. So the moment you have all these, what you need to do now is you need to create different labels for it. And for employee name, we already have it. We'll write gender so that we can create gender. We don't need this in gender, or let's go with the same. And just because this is 20 and I don't want it to be the same, let's change it to 14. I should have rather done this from the starting as well, but doesn't matter. Now we have this, and now what we need to do is we have to make sure that we have enough gap between the two. So we'll make sure this goes 80, this goes 120, and this goes 160, and this goes 200 for the time being. Okay, now we have a gender. We need Aadhaar number. The moment you are okay with what you have written, what you can do is you can simply do a copy and paste, and then instead of employee name here or here, what we need is gender and Aadhaar number. Okay, and here we need address, and then we need skills. So simply what we can do is we can simply copy and paste. We can simply copy and paste stuff from here to here, and now we have the left hand side details. Now if we need to check it, what we can do is we can simply run, and in order to run we have to make sure that our root is our main loop, and we'll press Ctrl S and we'll start this, and let's check what is the output with us. And then we have the name of the company here and the labels here. So now what we can do is we can push more, like the text box and the input box, plus for gender we need option box, and for skills we need checkbox. For that, what we can do is we can write them as well. So let's start. So for name of the company, what we'll do is we don't need any input box for this, but for employee name we need this. We will write E and we will write entry. And then where we want to place it on root. We don't have any value for it, so we just need to place it, and we'll place it on x equals to 200 and y equals to, what we can do is simple thing, because we don't want to change this position and this has to be consistent. We'll put the stuff like this, and then again we can simply copy and paste. And then for gender, what we need to do is we need to make certain changes. Just because gender has to be in option boxes, what I'll do is gender seems to be fine till here, and then I'll write male equals to tk dot radio button, and then I can say it will be placed on root, and then text will be near. And then what I can do is I can simply copy and paste. Instead of being M here, I can write FE female here. So what's gonna happen here is we have created two checkboxes, but now we have to place them. In order to place it, we'll place, and X has to be X will be done in a way that we place them on 200 because we are trying to put details here, and then like this one, and then Y will become Y can be placement plus 80, just like this one. And then for female, what we can do is we can simply copy and paste, and then instead of 80, what we can do is 100, just because we want it to be together. And then what we want to do is Aadhaar number seems to be fine, but then just because this is too close, we'll change this number to 140, and then we'll go on to address. And for address, what we can do is we can write address. Just because this field is generally big, what we can do here is tk.text instead of entry, and then we'll place it on root, and then we have to place this. And where we can place this is, what we can do here is we can write a place equals to x equals 200 as usual, and y equals to placement dot 180. And I'll tell you why, because this is something which we shifted but we did not shift this. Let's do 180 here, and then we'll try to give the same width as well by writing width has to be 200 and height has to be 50, and we'll remove this. So we have this in the correct manner. And then just because we have address here, we have to create Aadhaar number E as well. We can simply do a copy paste here, and then just to check that it's on the right track, we can make it 140. Now we have address, we have Aadhaar number. And just because skills have to be shifted to another place, so what we can do is we can shift it to 260 instead. That will be fine, I'm sure. And then 260 is something I'm taking because 180 plus 50 is something I've already taken. Now in order to make option boxes, what I can do is I can write skill 1 equals to tk.check button, and then I'll place it on root. And then what I'll do is I'll give it a different what I can do here is I can give it a text as well, and then I'll give it a text of let's go for coding, and then I'll copy and paste here and place to x equals to 200 and y equals to placement plus 260. So this will be just next to it, and then I can add a different number as well. Instead of 260 I can write 280, and I can write admin work, and then instead of 1 I can do skill 2 and skill 2 here. So now let's run and let's see what we have in our GUI. And then this seems quite fun, but we need to make a button here as well. So for that we can write button equals to tk.button, and then we'll place it on root, and then I'll write a text of submit info, and then we'll write a command of let's write a command of store information, and store info is something which I believe is okay, and write button dot place x equals to 200 again, but y we can shift to 420 just because we want it to be very below to it. In order to make this function work, what we can do here is I can write a function. For the timing I'll write pass, and let's check whether the button appears or not. And now we have a button here as well. Now we have to store this information. So for storing this information, what I've done is using DB browser for SQL, I have already made a table called employee details in a database called employee DB, right? So now we'll work on storing this information in this database. So for that, what we can do right now is just because we have to have the location of the database, and that is stored where the file is stored, what we can do is I can call upon OS, and then write this directory equals to os.path, and then dot directory name in os.path.absolute path of file. Okay, this will tell me where the file resides on the system. This won't have the file name as well. So now in order to call upon the SQL that we have made, we will simply work on this function, and that will be SQL connection equals to In order to use that database, we have to import another module called SQLite 3, and then you can write SQLite.connect, and you can use this directory plus the name of the database. The name of the database here is employee.db, and this is how you connect the database. And then you need to write a cursor as well, and then cursor can be SQL connect dot cursor, and now you have connected a cursor. So now before you use this cursor, what you need to do here is you need to pull out the information from all of these tags. And in order to pull out the information from these tags is, for this you can write employee name can be dot get, is just because it's an entry form. And then what you can do is, in order to pull out the gender, what you need to do is you need to create a variable for the same, and for that you can write here you can write gender var equals to tk.int var. Now you can store this information, whether it's a male or not, you can get that stored, and you can write variable equals to gender var. This is quite simple, and then just because you're writing it, you can write it as a value of 1, just because this will carry the value of 1. And then for this, which you can write value of 2. So this is something that will pull the details from, which is the gender var only. For Aadhaar number, what we can do is, first we'll get this information, gender equals to gender var dot get information, and if gender equals to 1, then gender equals to male, else gender equals to female. Okay, and now we'll have the information of gender, and now we need to store the address as well. So address can be pulled out from address, and that is address e, and you can write address e dot get. Just because this is not an entry one, so we have to define the index from where we have to find the information from, and we have to write tk dot end. Right, now we have the address as well, but now we need to find the Aadhaar card number. So Aadhaar info can be taken by Aadhaar dot get, and now you have the employee name, you have the gender, address info, and Aadhaar info. Now what your job is to get the skill details. So for that as well, what we can do, we can again define a skill variable, which is skill var, and again we can simply give that information. We can place that variable for skill 1 and write variable equals to skill var, and then give the variable here skill var 1, so that we can again create this and denote it skill 1. So now what we can do is that write a function stating that if skill var, which is this one, if skill var equals to 1, then skills or skill 1 equals to, if we did not write it, we have written it coding, skill 1 equals to coding, and we can simply copy and paste, and we can write if skill 2 equals 1, we can write this, which is the admin work. Now I'll show you how we use it and how we paste it. Let's see, the issue here is we did not put this colon, and now everything seems to be fine. It says that undefined variable is skill var 2, and let's see why. It's just because we don't have skill var 2, we have skill var 1 and we have skill var. And now everything seems to be okay. We'll press Ctrl S, and now in order to put the entry into the system, we'll write a query called insert into, and the name of the table we have here is employee details. So right now what we can do is we can write employee details, and then we can write values, and then we can start putting information here, just because I believe we have 4 1 2 3 4 5, so we have to define 5, and then we can write a format and then open up details. Like the first one is the employee number, the second one is the gender, third one is the Aadhaar number, and the fourth one is the address, and the last one is the skills. So now what we can do is that E can take the place of employee name, and then G can be taken as gender, and then in order to pull out the information for address, this is Aadhaar info, sorry. So for this what we can do is we can write AD can take what we have in Aadhaar info, and then for ADR we have address info. Now for skill we can write simple thing which is skill 1, and here if we make change like this, so what's gonna happen is that skill 1, if skill 1 is nothing, that is fine, but if skill 1 is something, that will, then it will add to it, and then we can simply do this as well. So this can be made out as a query, and then we can write cursor.execute and then restore query 1, and then we can say to commit the information. And let's try and run this whole program, which is the employee management system using tkinter. It's a simple project and we are doing it on Python, and now let's run whether it works or not. And before we go ahead, just because this is all in text, so we'll make sure that this comes in single arrows, single quote, to make sure that this information goes in. And now let's run, see how this thing works. The moment we write it and then this gets open, we write coding here, we write it's male, we write Aadhaar number is 111, and then 123B, and then let's do coding, and let's see how it works. It says the database is locked just because I have opened up the database. I can close the database right now and then storing the information again, and let's see whether it has guessed or not. And we'll open up the database again, and let's, as we can see, we have the details here. It did not pick the skill session, so let's see why it did not pick it, and we'll try to fix this thing up. So as you know that the skill section did not work, and it's just because we did not put the get here, which pulls out the information from the variable. And now if we try to run it, and you can see that it runs well, and we'll write coding 2, and then we'll write male, Aadhaar number can be 12345 12345B, and then we'll write coding, and then we'll submit this information, and we'll try to see it here, and now we have this information. So friends, this is how you make employee management system project using tkinter and Python. You can have your different variations, you can make different changes to it, but we have used probably not every widget, but most of them which can be used in such systems. You can make a login page if you want to use it. tkinter is a big library, though it is not getting developed right now, or the development or the work on the same ended way past few years back, but this is a great library to work with. You can also convert the same into exe as well. If you want to know how, you can simply look at the suggestion here, and this is how you convert the exe. If you want to convert the tkinter file into exe. If you think that this video was resourceful, please press the like button, comment, share it, and please subscribe to the channel. Thank you.